Let's learn how to add texture to an image. To begin, let's add our texture by using the Place Image tool. And if you want to do this a little faster, you can double-click on your image to automatically load it into your cursor. I'll click and drag to add this, but as you can see, it's facing the wrong direction for our photo. So I'm going to click and drag on this little knob up here, and while holding Shift, we can lock it in so it's perfectly aligned. Then we can just stretch this like that, so it's covering the whole photo. Now it's time to blend this texture into our photo. To blend this in, I want to make sure that we keep the light areas and dark areas of this texture. In other words, I want the bright areas to make our base layer brighter, and I want the dark areas to make the base layer darker. So, should we use multiply, screen, or overlay? If you answered overlay, then you're correct. And this is what it looks like. Very nice. Here's the before and after. You can leave your photo like this if you want, or you can do some masking. Maybe you want most of the photo to have a texture applied to it, but you might think it would look better if the subject of the photo wasn't affected. If that's the case, you can add a mask. Then you can grab the paintbrush and paint in black paint to remove the texture over the flower. So I'm just going to paint over the flower to remove that texture. I have a very harsh edge on my paintbrush right now, so I'm just going to lower the hardness down to 0, and then I'll continue painting. Now, if you do still want some texture on the flower, you can always duplicate this texture layer with Command or Control J. Now the texture is very intense on the outer edges, but it's still not on our flower. So as a little trick, you can select the mask, and then you can invert it with Command or Control I. You can see on our mask here that this is now applying the texture only on the flower, not on the background. Now you can go ahead and select the main layer and lower the opacity so that the flower has a little bit of texture applied to it. So now you know how to add texture to a photo. But before we finish this video, I want to give you some tips on how to find textures for your photos. To find textures, I recommend you use Pixabay, Unsplash, or Pexels. All of these websites have millions of free photos, including free textures. You can find links to all of these websites in the PDF that's included in the course exercise files. This PDF has links to all of the resources that we'll be using throughout the course, so we'll be using this in a lot of the upcoming lessons. After you go to one of the free photo websites, you want to find a texture that's a similar color to the photo that you're working on. So for the flower photo that we edited in this video, you might want to search for something like green texture or green abstract. So I'll just type that in and then press enter. Then you just need to scroll down to look through these textures to try to find one that you like. After you find a texture that you like, you can go ahead and click on it and then download it for free. And that's it. Now you know how to use free textures to add an artistic effect to your photos. In the next lesson, we're going to learn how to use blend modes to sharpen your images.